We are right in the middle of a massive paradigm shift. When we first started charting the trajectory of artificial intelligence, well, we had a ton of expectations, right? What it would do, whose jobs it would take, how society would react. But as we're going to see in today's explainer, the actual reality of AI is completely defying those initial predictions. I mean, from the absolute highest levels of religious institutions all the way down to the individual solopreneur building in their garage, this tech is reshaping our world in ways literally no one fully anticipated. So let's just jump right in.
Real quick, here's the roadmap for today. We're covering the Vatican versus AI personhood, the sheer speed of intelligence, super forecasting the future, the job apocalypse myth, and finally, the solopreneur explosion. Let's do this.
Part 1. The Vatican versus AI personhood.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because we are starting with an incredibly fascinating collision between ancient organized religion and frontier artificial intelligence. Pope Leo XIV actually just released a massive 42,000-word encyclical entirely focused on AI. Think about that for a second. That is monumental. This is one of the largest global institutions stepping right into the middle of the AI debate. And the Vatican isn't just talking about, technical safety guards or data privacy. They're actively trying to reframe the entire conversation around human dignity and purpose. It's this fundamental shift from asking, what can machines do, to asking, what are human beings actually for?
And that brings us to a pretty stark philosophical divide. On one side, you have the Vatican taking a firm, strict stance against AI personhood, stating completely unambiguously that AI models do not exist on a moral plane with us and have zero spark of inner life. But then, on the exact opposite side, you look at frontier tech labs like Anthropic. They are actively using what people in the industry literally call internal soul documents to instruct their models. They're treating these systems almost as if they have an inner life or intrinsic value during post-training. It's just a totally wild clash of worldviews defining the future of tech.
The encyclical also lays out some severe warnings. They introduce this concept called the Babel syndrome, basically warning that if we optimize organizations purely for efficiency, we end up reducing human beings to just dashboards and tokens. The document even goes so far as to equate certain tech labor conditions directly with historical slavery. They're warning about a future where a tiny fraction of humanity uses incredibly convincing AI to manage and control everyone else. So yeah, it is a profound philosophical pushback against the unchecked acceleration of technology.
All right, part 2, the speed of intelligence.
Let's move to our next topic and see how this builds. Because while all these deep philosophical debates are happening, the raw capabilities of the models themselves are accelerating at breakneck speed. If we look at the deep software engineering benchmark, we're not talking about simple writing prompts anymore. These are complex tasks where an AI autonomously edits over 600 lines of code across multiple different files. GPT-5.5 scored a staggering 70% on this. Claude Opus hit 54%. Meanwhile, pretty much everything else falls way below this massive capability cliff at under 32%. The algorithms aren't just optimizing our workflows anymore, they are rapidly becoming the workflow itself.
Now, as this artificial intelligence gets better and better, a really interesting economic principle kicks in. It's known as the Jevons paradox. Historically, when technological progress makes a resource more efficient, think of coal back in the 1800s, you'd logically think we'd use less of it, right? But actually, the exact opposite happens. Consumption absolutely skyrockets because the resource becomes wildly useful, and we are watching this exact phenomenon play out with AI in real time.
Get this. Since late 2024, the cost of AI compute, specifically the price of AI tokens, which are basically the little fragments of words the AI processes, has plummeted by 75%. We're talking a drop from about $2 per million tokens down to just 50 cents. And the consequence of that massive price drop? It's staggering. Cheaper intelligence definitely didn't mean companies spent less money. Instead, demand absolutely exploded by 30 to 50 times, hitting an insane 25 trillion tokens generated per month. 25 trillion! We are witnessing the complete demonetization and democratization of intelligence. As it gets cheaper, people don't use it less, they use it radically more to solve much more complex problems.
Which leads us to part 3, super forecasting the future.
The problems being solved with all this cheaper compute are getting incredibly advanced. On March 15th, a massive milestone was quietly reached. DeepMind's AI system, known as Green Tree, hit absolute parity with the top 2% of human superforecasters. Just for some context here, these top-tier humans are typically 30% more accurate than highly trained intelligence analysts when it comes to predicting geopolitical events and economic outcomes. And now, an AI can do it exactly as well.
So how exactly does it pull this off? Well, traditional computer forecasting relied purely on structured data. Neat columns of numbers in a database. But large language models can assimilate millions of tokens of entirely unstructured data. It's like having the ability to read thousands of incredibly nuanced research reports instantly. This gives the AI a massive capacity advantage, letting it totally outperform traditional analysts. The implications for financial markets, insurance risk, government policy planning? It's absolutely massive. The ability to predict the future is basically becoming a widely available commodity.
Moving on to part 4, the job apocalypse myth.
So look, if AI is out here autonomously writing code and accurately predicting the future, what happens to us? For a long time, the narrative was total doom and gloom. But recently, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman actually admitted he was wrong about the immediate timeline of mass white-collar displacement. He told this story about trying to delegate all his own emails and communication to an AI, and eventually he just went back to doing it manually. Why? Because we fundamentally care about our human interactions. The sweeping, overnight job apocalypse is actively being walked back by the very people building the tech.
So the crucial point here is separating the scary headlines from the actual reality. Yes, the headlines are screaming about 134,000 recent tech layoffs, and you constantly see CEOs pointing the finger at AI, but the reality, when you dig into the data, is way more nuanced. A lot of these layoffs are actually just the result of bad corporate strategy and huge post-pandemic overhiring. AI is just acting as a really convenient scapegoat. What we're actually looking at is a massive hiring freeze, which disproportionately hurts younger, entry-level workers rather than an AI actively going around firing experienced professionals.
Finally, part 5, the solopreneur explosion.
If the traditional corporate ladder is essentially frozen right now, where is all that human energy going? Let's anchor this in some hard data because it's pretty inspiring. Startup creation is up 25% year over year. The US currently has 6 times more startups than Europe. And incredibly, the number of AI solo founders doubled to 3,000 in just a single quarter. What this data tells us is that AI tools are empowering single individuals or just tiny teams to do the work of entire corporate departments. They are completely outperforming large, slow bureaucracies by using AI to execute their visions at a fraction of the usual cost.
And this really changes everything about how we prepare for the future. We are transitioning right out of the old economy, which was based entirely on supply-side education. In the past, you acquired a specific skill, and then you basically went out into the market to supply that skill for a job. But this new economy? It's demand-side. The required workflow now is to find a problem in the world, bring your unique taste and your domain expertise to it, and demand that your AI tools help you build the solution.
Ultimately, the barrier to execution has dropped to basically zero. You don't need to be a software engineer to build software anymore, and you definitely don't need a massive team to launch a company. AI is providing the raw skills right on demand. So the only question that truly matters now is, in a world where AI holds the skills, what problem will you choose to solve? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I hope this helped you see the incredible reality of our future just a little more clearly.